What's up, everybody? It's your boy KG. We got episode 12 of Free Knowledge. I want to thank you guys for tuning in for another episode. We have some great content that we're going to go over today, and I'm not even going to waste any time. We're going to jump right into it. So today's topic is isolation. And just to kind of give you guys some background on this, I feel like right now with everybody, with this COVID, with pandemic situation that we're all in right now, is that it put us all in a place of isolation. And I think in this current moment when everybody's isolated away from family and friends, it gives you an opportunity to self-discover who you really are. And then for some people, you kind of get to the point where you're like, oh, you know what? I'm tired of this. I'm just going to go out. I'm going to live my life. If something happens, something happens. And I think everybody just kind of all over the place. And I think for me and my experience is that being isolated allowed me to kind of look within myself and say, where are my opportunities and where are some things that I've been doing before this isolation that I can continue doing after, everything opens back up, Lord willing. So I just want to dive into that from that perspective and talk about a few different things. I'm not even going to hold you guys too long this week, but this was something that was on my heart and I wanted to speak about it with you guys, because I think it'd be helpful for everybody. I think everybody's dealing with isolation. Some people are okay with it more. If you're a homebody, you're okay with being at home and it doesn't really bother you. But this might be more for the extroverts out there like myself. You're used to being out. You're used to communicating with people, slapping people up, giving them, love, hugs, laughing, joking, face-to-face interaction. And right now you're in a place where it's kind of different for you. So I want to speak with you guys about this. So, like I said, not going to waste any time. So, jumping into it, the first thing that I think we have to look at in this current moment when we're all isolated, we have to look at, finding who you are in this moment. Kind of going back to what I said earlier, it's about self-discovery and looking at it and saying, okay, who am I really? Because right now, we've all been isolated for, 5 months now? And it's like you have to find out who you really are. Because I feel like in this moment when you're isolated, you're away from your family, you're away from your friends, so you don't have anybody that's kind of having an impact on you. It's literally just yourself. You're in your house, all your time is now devoted to just whatever it is that you want to do, whatever's on your mind. And I think in those moments we have to figure out, where are my opportunities? Where can I be better in life? Because I feel like if you haven't had those conversations with yourself, in this current season, it's definitely forced you to have those conversations because now things are amplified, to a higher magnitude because now you're looking at it like, oh, wow, you know what, like, what can I be doing to be better? You might look around and see people doing different things, tapping into new things during this current season of, pandemic, COVID, isolation type of thing. And you're figuring like, okay, what is my purpose? What do I need to do? And I think that this is the perfect time right now for anybody, all of us, when we're in this current moment of isolation, to find out who we are, to find out where our opportunities are, and then also take the time to celebrate the things that you are doing well, to look at it and say, okay, what things am I doing good right now in this current isolation period? And then, celebrating those things. I think oftentimes, and I actually had this conversation with a friend, it was saying like sometimes we do so much positive and we only focus on the negative things. Like, and I think the saying went something like this. It was like, we often remember the things that we shouldn't, and we remember the things that we shouldn't, and we forget the things that we shouldn't. So it's basically saying like if out of all of your entire life, you could think of this one bad moment you had, when you're 21 and that moment continues to harp on your mind and you're like, oh, I can't believe I did that. And, it's still haunting you. You got to let that go because throughout your entire life where you are right now, there's so many things that you've done that were positive. There's so much impact that you had positively on your life, other people's lives. And you have to recognize those things and you have to give yourself a pat on the back. Because right now, with everybody being in isolation, sometimes you can get to a depressed state. And that's something where we want to move away from. We want to give ourselves, praise. But then also, too, taking the time to thank God. And that's when it kind of goes back to it. When you're finding yourself, I think the best thing for me is when I'm looking to find out more about myself, I go into prayer. I close the door and I just talk with God, and then I open up the Bible and I read, and then He points me to things that I'm looking for. Or maybe I might say, hey, you know what, maybe this is something that I'm struggling with, and I'll look up a sermon on it and I'll just listen to it while I'm maybe cleaning or maybe going for a walk, a bike ride. And those different things help me to find out who I am, but then also getting the direction from God for who does He call me to be. So that's the first part, but just finding out who you are during this time. Then I think the second thing to kind of segue into that is that once you find out who you are and you're in this isolation state, you're at a point where now you're away from your family, you're away from your friends. So now you don't have anything that's kind of having that influence on you. So now it's truly you. So the habits that you're doing within these 5 months, you should either have got to a point where now you're making your own strides into things that you truly want to do, and no one is really having that effect on you, because we're all by ourselves right now. And maybe you might have a roommate, maybe you might have a significant other, but during this time it allows you to find out who you are, but then find out, more importantly, the people around you. Like, who are the people that are around you? Who are the people that are in your circle? Like, do they have a positive impact on you or a negative impact? Since this time that you've been away from your circle of friends, maybe you guys used to go out all the time. Maybe you guys used to kick it all the time, whatever it may be. At this point, you've been away from them. So now, have you gotten better or have you gotten worse? Like, you have to kind of take a step back and look at it from that perspective and say, you know, like, who are my friends that are truly around me? And another thing, just to kind of talk about that, is that during this isolation, if you have anybody that's been consistently contacting you, hey, how's your day going? How's your week going? How's your family? Those are the people that you need in your life. Like, those are the true friends. Those are the true family members that you need to continuously keep in your life, because right now everybody is kind of frantic and scattered with thoughts and just busy with their life, that sometimes right now you're figuring out that some of your friends might not reach out to you. And you might figure out, like, man, we used to talk all the time. Why we don't talk as much? And sometimes it might be because maybe they got busy, or maybe they might have other things going on, but maybe they're just dealing with their own isolation in a different way. And so I said to say is that you have to look and see, okay, if these are people that are only around when things are good, you have to weed those people out. And maybe God brought you in this isolation season to remove some of those relationships that you have in your life. And then secondly, to bring and invite some of those relationships that are people who are encouraging you, who are pouring into you, because those are people who are going out of their way. Their day is busy just like everybody else, but they're still taking the time to, hey man, I just wanted to give you a call real quick to see how you and the family doing. Hey, I just wanted to check, hey, how's your mom and dad doing? Hey, just different stuff like that. Those are the people that you have to stay in contact with, because if they're taking the time to pour into you, you want to make sure that you're doing the same thing back to them. And kind of going to the next point is that, during this isolation season, there's two things that are going to happen from this time. You're either going to get stronger, or you're going to make excuses. And so from the aspect of getting stronger, when you're in isolation, again, like I said, starting off with yourself, you're defining out who you are. You're spending time with God. You're devoting prayer time with Him, just daily time, just spending quality time, as I talked about on our last episode, spending that quality time with God, because now He's transforming and showing you exactly who you are and who He wants you to be. And then secondly, He's taking the people that are around you and shaping them. Like, okay, I'm showing you the people who are truly in your corner, massaging your shoulder, making sure you're ready to go and get in the ring of life and just have a fight. Like, He's showing you those people who are continuously encouraging you. Then He's showing you the people that you thought were in your corner. And maybe they might not necessarily not wish bad on you or anything like that. But at the end of the day, you might look at it and see, like, wow, like, I haven't really talked to this person like 3 months, 2 months. You have to look at those things, because it's not just happening out of the blue for no reason. God is showing you these different things, especially if you have went out your way to reach out to that person and things just still aren't the same. So I think you have to be mindful of those different things. And then that's when you're able to become stronger, because all of that tied into one. God is working with you. He's working on you. He's working on the people around you. You become stronger, because as you draw closer to God, He's going to draw closer to you. And I've definitely experienced that, myself with just my own personal testimony of just the more I dedicated my life, my time, and prioritized God truly first in my life, then I realized He just started continuously blessing me. And I was like, okay, like, and I'm not even like it's doing it like because like yeah, that's just a perk that comes with it, that when you do what God calls you to do is that He blesses you. But it's like additional is like I look at it from this perspective, like I'm gonna continue doing what God calls me to do because He literally gave His Son for me, and I think about that. It's like it's not too many people in the world that'll give their life up for you. You might have a parent, you might have a brother, sister, but generally speaking, people might say it, but if it really came down to it, it's stuff that they wouldn't really do. And we know this. We know this for fact. So I say that to say, like, sometimes we have to look at it from that perspective and just say, you know what, like, God gave His life for me, like, and all He wants me to do is live right and to share the good news and impact other people, put other people before me, and love Him and love others around me. That's not a hard ask for somebody to give their life up for. So just to keep that in mind, because you're gonna get stronger, and when you become stronger, now your life is going to shift, your thought process is going to shift, your spiritual hunger is going to shift, and then your blessings are going to shift. You're going to start seeing blessings come out of nowhere because you took the time to, you shaped yourself, you shaped the friends and the circle that's around you, and that's what made you stronger. And then the part B of that one is you're either going to get stronger or make excuses. The part B of making excuses is that the people who are not gonna figure out who they are during this season, and then they're not gonna figure out who their friends are, the people that they need to keep around them, they're gonna make excuses. And what I've learned is that, everybody can come up with an excuse. Like you can say, oh, this is going on, but keep in mind there's someone else in a worse situation taking on what they're taking on, and they're taking it in stride, and they're not making any excuses. So I look at it like from that perspective, like I'm not gonna make any excuses, because what's gonna happen is that once this pandemic is over, we get back to regular life, and that might not necessarily mean regular back to where it was before this, but just where you're out and about, you're able to be in society and communicate with people without masks and worrying and fear, is that you're gonna be in a place where it's like, okay, now that's over, and you're gonna see people. It's gonna be certain people during this season that have moved on in their lives, that have, you're like, man, how did that person get that business going? How did they do this? It's because they were grinding during this time. And this isolation period, they took it full advantage of it. But there's going to be people who get out of this season, they're going to be like, oh, man, that COVID, man, it put me behind, man. I would have been, whoop, 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 I'd have been doing this. You know those people. We all know those people. You might have some people in your family that's like that. You might have some friends that's like that they're making excuses, but at the end of the day, excuses don't pay bills. Excuses don't put food on the table. It doesn't do anything. It's just there. It's something that everybody reaches for when they don't reach the goals that they put out for them. So I say all that to say, to make sure during this period of isolation, that when you leave out of this season, you want to make sure that you're stronger and you're not making excuses. And to kind of wrap things up, I'm going to give you guys 3 takeaways. And with these 3 takeaways on this episode, it's more just questions that I pose to you guys. And I want you guys to think about it, to write it down, put your notes down, and maybe that might inspire you to do a vision board, to write down, okay, maybe let me think about where I am, from my own personal perspective, like where I really am, the friends that are around me, and then where I'm at in my life, like moving forward. So think about these 3 takeaways. So the first one is going to be, what was, during this isolation season, what did I learn about myself? So that's the first thing. What did I learn about myself in this period of isolation? And because, again, as we talked about earlier in this episode, we want to make sure that we're finding out who we really are. And the best way for us to do that is to get in God's word, to get in His presence through prayer as well. And He'll show us exactly who He calls us to be and what He wants us to do. Secondly, what has He told you about your circle? What has this isolation period told you about the people that are around you? Again, that's important, because you have to pay attention to that, because God might be trying to, remove people out of your life to make space for a new person to come in your life. But if you don't recognize what he's trying to show you, then that won't happen. So we have to be, cognizant of the things that are going on around us to say, okay, you know what, who's truly for me and who's not for me. And then the people that I can keep close, but then the other people I might have to give them a long spoon relationship. And then lastly, will you become stronger after this isolation season, or will you just have a bunch of excuses? And these are a lot of tough questions to just kind of think and ponder on, and just think like, okay, like, am I really taking that time? But it's okay. We're all in this space right now, and I'm not even sharing this with you guys as if I figured it all out. I'm still in the same space as well. I'm walking through this daily, but I also, again, going back to the reason for the podcast, free knowledge. I want to give you guys free insight and different things that might be on your mind that you can now truly be like, oh, he's thinking the same thing, and this might be different strategies to help us all. That's my ultimate goal, is to help everybody. If there's a way for me to help you guys through this podcast, through this channel, that's what I'm here to do. So I hope that this episode has been very impactful for you guys. I hope that you guys got your notes out, you're writing. Please leave your comments, your feedback, like and subscribe. And then also, too, take the time. I challenge you guys to find 2 or 3 people that you can take on this journey with you. As you guys are listening, tuning into these podcasts, if you come across an episode and it really touches you, share it with 2 to 3 people. That's nothing. That costs you nothing to share with them. You never know who needs to hear the word and the words of encouragement to push them to their next season, the next place where God is taking them. So I love you guys. I appreciate all your support. Continue praying for me, and I'm praying for you guys. Just always look at it from this perspective. And this is kind of something that I've been thinking about. God had kind of spoke to me in the middle of the week, and he was just saying, like, I was looking at like, wow, I'm in a place where, I'm working from home. We have a daughter. She's 10 months old. And I was like, wow, this is really a lot. It's a lot that's going on. Then I had to stop and think like, I thank God that I still do have a job. I thank God that my daughter is healthy, and I thank God that I'm able to do both at the same time. I thank God that he's made our daughter advance where she can be by herself and she's walking and talking and doing all these different things. So I say that to say as like a last nugget, and this was kind of different from what I've been talking about in the previous episode, but when you're looking at your life, don't focus on the things that are going wrong. Focus on the things that are going good, because that'll shift your spirit, your mindset, everything around. If you focus on like, wow, like this stuff is going on in my life, okay, focus on the things that are going good. And when you start to do those things, it shifts your mindset. Your energy of the day changes, your mindset changes, your impact on others changes, because you have a optimistic outlook on life, on the things that are coming at you, because everybody's dealing with the pandemic right now. But how are you going to take it on? The people who are truly taking it on in stride are the people who are looking at it from an optimistic standpoint. I still got my house, I still have my family, I still have my mind, I still have the most important thing, a relationship with God. You can go to God and ask him for anything, so it doesn't matter what's going on in our lives at any point in time. If we go to God, we take it to God, we leave it with him, and we don't worry about it. We say, God, look, this on my mind, I'm going to leave this with you, and I'm going to walk off from it. So the Holy Spirit led me to say that. I don't know who needed that, but I pray that whoever got that you received it. And not only that, but like I said, share with other people. You never know who needs it, and you never know how the Holy Spirit will move through them through hearing a podcast. So again, I want to say thank you guys for tuning in for another episode. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Share with your family and friends. I love you guys. Have an awesome week. Love is love. Peace.